back in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, continuing our flight on Saturday, December 27th, currently 12:52 p.m. Eastern Time. We are flying over the Bahamas. We took off from Nassau, and currently, if we look at our map here, I guess I could look at this map while I'm looking at my map on my phone. The island we are over, I think, is Great Abaco. And we are heading over towards Grand Bahama, where Freeport is. But we're going to continue on with our House of R podcast on Stranger Things, season 5, episodes, I believe, 5 and 6. So spoiler warning, if you haven't seen Stranger Things, this podcast will definitely talk about it. Great podcast, subscribe to it. A House of R with Mallory Rubin and Joanna Robinson. Here we go.
I completely agree. I think it's emblematic of the distinction between enjoying a scene as you're watching it and then panning back and thinking about where we are at the end of a 10-year, 5-season show. Yeah. Where it's like, I think pretty much all of Holly's scenes have been good and entertaining. I agree. And so I've enjoyed them, and I will, I think, enjoy continuing to watch Holly over the rest of the season. I'm with you that I don't think anything could have prepared me, and we're the Holly Trauma Tracker duo. I don't think anything could have prepared me for Holly being, like, basically the main character of the final season of Stranger Things, which I think in some ways is really inspired, both in terms of what we've already talked about the last couple pods of, like, it would be really weird, actually, to get to the end of Stranger Things and have a family like the Wheelers, like, not brought really more actively into the story mix and just have observed in the shadows.
Also generationally, right? Like, our kids have gotten so tall and so laughably, quote, still teenagers, that, like, it makes sense to bring in a crop of younger kids. I just think the, like, equation balance is, like, a little off.
Yeah, I do like that Holly and Derek have given us that more, like, early season, oh my God, what's it like to be, 11 and not 11 Jane Hopper 11, but like 11 years old, or however old you might be, and like confronting these horrible things. But yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise. I will say though, on the other side of it, if 80 to 90% of the screen time went to Derek, I don't think I would complain. He continues to delight me endlessly, and the fact that we got the Samwise Gamgee in this stretch with Derek,
I ain't dropping no E's.
Nothing important that is. I heard a good deal about a ring and a Dark Lord and something about the end of the world. And like, we just got that from Derek. Not much. How you want to escape, but you can't because you need Henry to leave first. That was delightful. Truly,
it was really,
delightful.
Really good. When he said he was basically best friends with Mike Wheeler.
Yeah.
And, like, lists all the other characters as Mrs. Byers. This is Miss Robin, which is just, like, absolutely precious to me. Holly saying we need dipshit Derek, is what she says. And then, like, dipshit Derek showing up, saying things like, you read my mind, numb nuts, or he could suck my fat one about Henry as he creates a distraction, is really good. When Henry catches Derek in the woods, though, Derek in the woods, and shows him his family, the Turnbow family, when he was like, shifting his head around, he's like, your father, your mother, I was like, he's gonna call his sister a bitch, isn't he? And then he did. I was like, yeah, it's just tough. Very, very traumatic. Anything else you want to say about Derek here?
Just that let's add it as a bullet point. It's not the top bullet point, but let's add it as a bullet point on the feedback for Max in these episodes, because I think this was crazy reckless and like Holly's just trying to real-time strategize, and it's all new to Holly, but like I don't think that Max should have signed off on Derek being deployed as like a distraction so that they can go try to escape. I'm like, this is kind of fucked up.
Not everyone is cut out to be a great leader.
Yeah.
And Max is not cut out to be a great leader. Holly has to, like, take over as leader at a certain point. So, like, Max comes through with a great speech when she needs to have come through with a great speech,
She
but
does.
like overall, she's like, here's the map. Derek's like, I don't even know how to read a compass, essentially, which would have been great information for everyone to have. But yeah, I agree with you. What a reckless plan. Okay. That being said, I mean, Joyce put Derek in the, like,
I know.
they keep putting
Child
Derek
endangerment
in these
left and
situations.
right.
Yeah, what would Erica say about that? Okay.
Exactly.
Speaking of Erica, the Sinclair siblings have a plan. 2 plans, in fact. So, how excited were you to hear No Bad Ideas in a Brainstorm? One of our favorite pieces of Ringer lore inside of Stranger Things.
It made me wonder if David Jacoby had a writing credit on this season that we didn't know about.
We should ask Jacoby about that.
That was an absolute thrill.
We've already talked about like the Bugle's product placement, Erica and Mike saying Wizard versus Sorcerer matters. Very funny. Erica proving herself better than Lucas at D&D at every turn. The Shock Jock plan, which again, we have some notes about this. Robin and Will have this moment where Robin thanks Will for saving her life, and then he thanks her for the Tammy story, and we get this sort of like truth serum conversation. This revelation that Steve is the person that she came out to, and he's like, Steve, really?
That was great.
And then we do this whole thing, and Robin does her young Frankenstein Frankenstein joke. Her I work at a video store shtick continues. Anything else you want to say about these 2 characters and their connection here, or?
I continue to find Robin and Will talking about who they are and how they came to share that with other people, and when to be like really moving and powerful to see. I thought that hearing Robin say, sharing that part of myself with someone else, that was a whole nother thing, was like a good next step in their conversation with each other, because what we watched with Will at the end of episode 4 was a self-embrace. And now this question of what comes after. And I thought it was really cool to hear Robin, because Will is looking at Robin as a character who has as a person who has all of this wisdom and experience to share with him, which she does. But then I thought it was really amazing to hear her say to him, you're like the 3rd person I've told. I hope to double that this year. It's like, it's still also new to Robin too. And just, it's another way to remind us of like how even the older kids, like they're all still so young, and it's all so formative and new for all of them. So I like that. I thought that was very, very good.
Then we get the Hopper and 8 and 11 stretch, which I think we should just pretty much knock out here. I'm actually like quite confused about some things that are going on here. Not like confused and I don't understand, but so Callie describing this whole plot to 11, using her illusion sort of power to make it a visual presentation for 11. This all makes sense to me. Callie being like, it's not going to be done, basically like, we have to die in order for this to be over, sort of seems to be Kali's like POV, or like Mary, especially you 11 need to die because your blood is the good, is the juice.
Right.
Hopper, this is getting ahead a little bit, but Hopper's move from awkwardly trying to like connect to Kali in the car here when he's like, bitchin', isn't that the word you taught her? Like, I remember like blah, blah. And Kali being like kind of solemnly like, I'm a bad influence, and he's like, that makes 2 of us. He gets this moment. He, I will talk about Hopper and 11 in a second, and like her anger towards him and stuff like that. That's interesting to me. But like, he comes in, he interrupts this Kali and 11 conversation. Then ever after that, he like hates her. This child in a way, and I understand that like Hopper is not the most emotionally regulated person, and this has like consistently been true of him. But did it feel to you like we missed a scene where he went from like trying to bond to like interrupting something, or is this like another case? I mean, obviously he's correct that she's like whispering in 11's ear of like Grima worm tugging, like you should essentially like kill yourself. Like that is kind of the vibe here. But I don't know how he would know that for sure, right? He says that, right? Like, I don't know, she just talked to Elle and then all of a sudden, like, this thing changed. So, like, he's kind of... But doesn't it feel like he really dramatically and violently swinged to this hatred space? I don't know. What do you think?
So, the first time I watched, I did find this a little jarring because it felt like, to your point in the drive over sequence, that he was like sort of sweetly trying to be like, I know who you are. She told me about you. I know why you matter to her. I'm cool. Yeah. And then very suddenly he's just like in a very different, overt place with her. On a rewatch, I kind of assumed that he basically like just heard more of what she told Elle behind the projection, or maybe just that Elle has caught him up, because like we'll quickly see that Elle does. Mike has to prod her, but she does just tell Mike like this is kind of the math problem we're working with here. So whether he heard or they revealed it to him, I think that I agree with you that it felt a little choppy in terms of like not seeing him receive that information. That said, the place that we find him emotionally and like it just the way that his like inability to maturely process his terror felt really right to me, actually, for Hop. I'm like, I think that the Hop Kali argument I found pretty disturbing. As you know, she is a child. Not the first time we have seen Hop argue with children in Stranger Things, certainly. I think this, like, it had a little bit of a they're both right, they're both wrong quality that I like in a disagreement. Like, Hop has withheld things from Eleven, you know, the truth about Terry being alive back in season 2, etc. So I think when Kali wields that against him like a cudgel, she's right to do so, and he is, of course, receiving that with the shame that is warranted. I think that Kali is also right that Eleven not only like needs the facts in order to fight, like just that's practical, that's smart, it's the best way to be prepared, but also that she deserves the truth about her own life. I think she's right about all that. But I think then Kali swings into like, why do you get to push Jane toward this outcome? You know, why do you get to decide? Just as Hop so often does, why do you get to try to convince this other person like what is right for their life or the decision that they should make? And I think that there's a difference between Kate or anyone wanting to like arm 11 with a clear view of the board, right? Appropriate. And telling her, which is what she does here, there's only one choice, and it's for us to die. I agree. And so I think that Hop...
I'm not like, by the way, I'm not on board with Kali's plan, to be clear.
Of course.
You know, just to make that very clear.
Yeah, of course. I think like Hop, you know, I think that when Kali says to him, like, you know, I'm right, I think that's true. I think that Hop must know on some level that if these are the facts, that what Kali is saying is true. And so then that just sends him into this spiral, because that terrifies him, because as we've heard him say time and time again, I can't lose you. I can't do it again. Like, I can't lose the most important person in the world to me. And so him behaving badly felt a little disappointing, but right.
In character,
for sure.
This is
for sure.
To a T. I just felt like there was one scene missing to get me to like where he winds up, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Perhaps ironic, given that right before their argument, we hear Hop say to Mike, you know, it's like there's a big piece missing, a big piece.
To go back to the Hop and 11 conversation that they had before she and Kali have their conversation. I was curious if you felt, you know, because you and I both had a similar like visceral dislike of the Hop death fake out that happened in the first volume.
Yep.
We're just like, they've done this before with Hopper numerous times. Feels like weird to play with emotions this way here at the end of everything. However, as we get into this conversation where 11 says like, I saw you were ready to die.
Yeah.
I think that it really helped me settle a bit my feelings about that moment, because it meant that 11 had information that she needed to have, and not just like we're trying to trick the audience into an emotionally manipulative reaction, but 11 needed to see how ready he was to die and how he withheld that from her and how he does not treat her like an equal and how he does not share information with her. this is information Joyce didn't have. Like, this is information no one had. This is, this is something he was keeping hidden behind a board in his wall in his top secret cabin that nobody knows about for some reason. So, like,
yeah, fail-safe, no one knew about it, she says. I remain baffled as well by the cabin being, like, in use still. It's just astonishing.
But I liked it a bit more. I still don't, like, love it, but I was just like, well, at least it's, like, there's a plot reason for it. And this division, once again, it is hard to watch people we like fighting with each other constantly.
Yeah.
Even though it is a normal human response, and especially a human response to something as stressful as... Again, this is a real, like, sort of end of series.
Yeah.
The threat is here from the very beginning. We know the enormity of what we're facing kind of setup, which again is like something you and I will talk about when we get to the final season of Buffy, but it's just sort of like, we're no longer doing the, like, we go to class and then occasionally, like, something happens and we have to fight a monster.
Yes.
It's like, we're just in battle mode.
Right.
And tension and pressure is high, and relationships are falling apart, and all of it is very human, but it doesn't mean it's like... I like complexity, and I like conflict. Of course, conflict is a source of any great drama or comedy or theater or anything.
Would you say that conflict in the human heart is the only thing worth writing about?
I might have said that occasionally in my life, but I still want to enjoy what I'm watching. And
totally.
there are stretches inside of this season where I'm just sort of like, I'm not enjoying people constantly at each other's throats,
I think that the specific alchemy of Stranger Things was all of this happening while a couple people are at their summer internship at the newspaper, or going to
scooping ice cream,
scoop ice cream at the mall and shop with their friends, or go to class, or ogle the hot lifeguard, whatever the case may be. I'm with you there completely. I'm in the same place as you are with the 11 Hopper thing. I similarly, and it made me think again structurally about how the show has been consumed over time. Because in past seasons, with the exception of season 4 and its 2 volumes, we wouldn't have had... Stranger Things has always been designed to be consumed as a binge.
Yeah.
And so we wouldn't have had... We just would have plowed ahead, and then we get in short order to this moment in this conversation, and then possibly, and I'll come back to this in a second, future payoff as well, and it all would have felt like it was part of the design inside of the season, and we wouldn't have had that. Now, I think certainly many other Stranger Things fans have really longed over the years for the opportunity to...
Of like a week-to-week drop or something like that.
Consume it and talk about it in real time, but it hasn't actually been crafted to be perceived that way. It just hasn't. So that was on my mind with this. I similarly was like, okay, Elle saying, I saw in your eyes tonight, I saw you were planning to die and you always were, like, hit me really hard, and has softened me quite a bit in retrospect to that moment in episode 4. I'm with you. I still felt like it was a little bit, for us as consumers, as viewers, I felt baited still. But thinking about it through the lens of the characters in the story, it works for me now. Because for Elle, for everything you said, and I think like for Elle too, just we spend so much time thinking and talking about what 11 means to Hopper and how scared he is to lose her. And it feels important to really root us in the fact that the other part of that is true, that this is a shared love and relationship, and that it affected her deeply to confront the fact that he might be gone. And we know that because we saw her mourning him, at the end of season 3 and then the beginning of season 4. And so, like, of course we knew that already, but like being reminded of what it would mean to her to lose him, I felt moved by.
And not only that, but like that he would do that without even having a conversation with her about it.
Right.
That he would leave her again, and like when he did not die, but did, leave before, that was another like self-sacrifice play he made without, he's just eager forever to fall on his sword, and play the hero. We could be heroes.
Yeah, I think to that, like, not telling her part, it makes me think of Joel and Ellie. They're like, well, we're supposed to be what does it mean to be partners if you don't trust me, right? And like, it doesn't mean it's wrong for you to love me and care about me and want me to be okay, but like, then that's different a little bit from the thing we say we are.
Right.
And I like feeling that, and I like the characters having to confront it. I think to the point you just made about the sacrifices, I liked that coming back up again too, like Hop's fear of losing Elle and desire to protect Elle has always been entwined with like what we heard him voice to our guy Enzo, not actually called Enzo, but I'll insist on continuing to call him Enzo, in the Russian prison sequences in season 4, like this sense that he has. We heard him say a version of this to 11 at the end of season 2 in the pickup truck. I'm a black hole, and everyone in my life suffers because of me. And so there's a really sad, very intense aspect of the way that Hopper thinks about his relationships and manages his own life, where he's like, if I'm not here, maybe they won't be in trouble anymore. That is like really harrowing to confront, and I think is like active text for the character that makes sense to me. The last thing that was on my mind with this, seeing Hopper and 11 talk about it, was just like the setup. Basically, this will connects to what we were just talking about with how Hopper responded to what 8 is saying to Elle. It'll connect to what we hear about, like, kind of parenting in the conversation between Hopper and Joyce, which I know you're eager to get to. But like, I increasingly think that what this is priming us for is the opposite thing happening, which is like Hopper having to be the one to watch Elle walk forward down that hallway into that vault to make the sacrifice play, and see her do the thing that he did and thought was okay to do.
Theory corner then.
Yeah.
Even though we said necessarily we weren't going to do it. Does this then like bump 11 up the ranks of like,
yes,
death stakes for you?
I just, where are you on this? I don't know about death, but still like a sacrifice in a certain form. Death, well, I don't think so.
Given this idea of like it'll never be over, you know what this is making me think of?
Tell me.
My apologies to Stranger Things. The end of Wicked. And this idea of like,
oh man, yeah, wow, interesting.
Disappearing.
Yeah.
Not actually dying. Not this is the story of us watching 11 die.
Yeah.
But her not being able to be with maybe anyone, maybe just Mike. Maybe she and Mike can go where there's at least one waterfall. Like maybe. Or maybe none of them. But I don't think she dies. I don't think we're watching that story.
I don't think she dies, but I think she maybe is willing to. That's, again, a very, HP-esque
like a fake death, hopefully not for the audience, but that...
Please no.
Everyone else thinks she's dead, and we know she's not, or something like that. I don't know.
I think that 11 being willing to sacrifice herself for the people that she loves will not surprise me if that's where this goes. I think there's a way to do that is not the same as 11 actually dying or feeling like she has to actually die because of what Kali is saying to her. What's the King's Cross comp then in that scenario, right? Like, I think there's that's in play a little bit, but I think like what Mike says to 11, the conversation that they have, to me, that feels like what the show believes is true, which is like, we can figure out our own way. That's what we always do. And so I agree with you. I don't think the story ends with 11 dying. I think her being willing to is in the mix. But I think the story we're watching is a story about empowerment and these kids who always felt like they were a little bit on the outside of something, to finding the strength in each other to change, to say, you don't get to decide my fate. Yeah. That's the story I think we're watching.
I also wonder, and this is something that we've theorized for, since season 4, I think, but this idea of depowering. Like, if her blood is so magic and special and whatever, is there a way to, like, vomit up whatever particles are inside of her that, happen with the Demogorgon and become a regular girl and, like, tied up, with all those questions she has about, like, will Mike still think I'm special if I'm not a superhero anymore? But it would take the target off of her back in terms of what Kali's talking about.
That's number one on my predictions board. That feels most likely to me because I think it really beautifully potentially ties together like so many of. I mean, you've been predicting that since we first watched season 4. Like, I really think that feels right. And not only is that like a pretty honestly tidy way to handle the plot aspects of this, can't make weapons with my blood if the blood's not magic blood.
Right.
When we heard Eleven say to Mike in this stretch, like, you know, I'm not the monster, and I know that now. That's real progress, but there's still one degree beyond that, which is I don't need powers I don't need powers to be a hero. I can be a hero in all these other ways, just like you guys are.
Holly the heroic, it was inside you all along. Okay,
exactly.
Let's go to Holly and Max crawling through memories. We already covered a lot of this, so I'll just sort of like zip through it a little bit, but just say like we manifest a door. We go down into the Wheeler basement. Holly and her pal Mary with the like always fun hair,
great glasses too.
Yeah, great glasses. Are watching Nightmare on Elm Street: Dream Warriors, a movie that we have that the Duffers have talked about, that we've talked about a bunch. They're literally watching good old Patricia Arquette on the TV there. In the Hawkins Middle School library, Henry approaches Holly, already talking to her about A Wrinkle in Time. I just want to note that A Wrinkle in Time was first published in 1962. And so, like, Henry saying, I love that book, which could be true. I think I was an adult when I read A Wrinkle in Time. You don't have to be a child to have read Wrinkle in Time, but I'm just thinking, like, thinking about that timeline, like, this is not a book that Henry could have read when he was very young.
Right.
You know, so this is either something that he, you know, read because it was kicking around the lab or something like that, or is just lying about having read it or whatever. But it's not like a very legit, I read this when you're a kid, I'm bonding with you kind of.
That's moment, a great flag. I don't... Papa, a lot of toys in the Rainbow Room, a lot of games in the Rainbow Room. Papa didn't strike me as a guy to hand out reading material full of comps for how to thwart the dark forces in your life. It's funny, in this memory stretch, I bumped on another timeline thing, actually. Maybe I'm missing something here, or this just doesn't matter, but I was like, when Holly said during the Nightmare on Elm Street the Dream Warriors memory, she was like, this was Halloween, and I hadn't met him yet, so I'm like, wait. She had only Mr. Whatsit has been in the kids' lives for like a couple of days when the events of this show start. Does that make sense?
What a great question.
I was really thrown by that.
Is there any chance this was Halloween last year?
I wish if that had been the case, she had said this was last year, because I'm like this, especially not that Karen.
That's such a good call.
Not that Karen couldn't have been really alarmed just to be summoned like once to school to hear that your kid is standing by the fence talking to a
Mr. Whatsit is like and established, the whole family knows about it.
It seemed like this had been a protracted thing with Holly and had kind of almost like subsumed the rest of her socializing or her life. And I'm like, wait, it's been a day and a half or something. I really was like thrown by that. Maybe I'm missing something.
Remind me what we're in 87. We're in 87?
Yeah.
Dream Warriors came out in 87. So if it's already like rentable, then like what are we okay.
That's confusing.
That just gives me more questions.
This is like a little bit again, and maybe I or we are missing something. It's entirely possible. Giving me a little bit of the like, does it make sense that was Henry Crill's age? Like,
you didn't have to say it was Halloween.
This season.
Yeah. It came out in February, so I guess it'd be a home rental by October 87, but it couldn't have been 86, so weird.
Very odd.
It's like an own goal. Like, why did you didn't have to do that? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, strange. All
right, then we go to the playground. Holly's like, by the way, Detective Holly, great work. Never in a million years would I be like, hey, that center panel is supposed to be yellow, not blue or gray or whatever it is. Like, great job. And then we're back to the night that Holly was taken. In this moment, when they travel through the portal into Holly's bedroom.
Yes.
And Holly's like, Max, you'll be able to come back with me, right? And Max is like, no, I'm going to just stay here. Like, of course I'm coming with you.
Would have been a great time.
Would have been a great time to be like, but we'll have to figure out our own ways home because my body's not where your body is, so we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, really glad you brought this up, Holly.
Yeah, what a great question.
Thing for us to talk about. A little of a piece to me with like, again, I liked Joyce saying, Will, you're the best, you're extraordinary, what you did is extraordinary, let's throw you in like to the game. Yeah. But the like, stab him with his own sword, you know, one blow. I'm like, wait, why do we what is that? Where are they getting this confidence from? What that we can do this quickly?
Well, this is what I mean about
there?
like Dustin's like, it's Return of the Jedi, it's a shield generator, like blah, blah, blah. And like with Dustin, he's so often right in his theories that like, you know, but he's like, I was wrong. Like it's a real John Locke moment for him, but like, you know, it's exotic matter. But like they're wrong a lot this season. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Eventually, Henry / Vecna / one shows up, glitching through all of his various personas. Holly, for the first time, sees the true face of Vecna around the corner. Very good stuff. When he grabs Max and he calls her the Fox, I loved this. I love this. And then later again, you know, like talks about
smoking out of the
foxhole. Like, just really fun stuff for an elusive redhead who has been bedeviling him in his little fantasy world. Just like really good.
Super great. I thought that there have been a lot of scary things this season, but I thought the glitch twirl from Mr. What's-It into blood-spattered orderly one was fucking terrifying. And then, of course, we'll build toward what I would put in the running, just this is my personal, like, thinking of young Mal. If I had watched this when I was a kid, my personal, like, this would have been the single scariest thing I had seen in the show so far, much more so than any. That
Max, if you can hear me, you need to run. Yeah.
That was so scary. That was terrifying.
His face veins are, like, worming around his face. His, like, rooty, branchy, collarbone bone stuff is, like, flaring out, like, flanging it out.
The white eyes, like the quiver.
Yeah. And then the cut to Will, like, it's really good. Like, very scary, very distorting, very horror movie great. I really loved it. I also thought Henry exorcising Will out of his head was also really, like, the get out was also really good. And then we see the upside down dust go up the radio tower.
This show loves a snapped limb. What do we think that's about?
But I gotta say, I mean, Will, I'm rooting for you, and as you say, kind of failed twice only to win the third time. Sounds like a great trajectory for Will. You snapped an ankle. Like, that's the best we could do. You couldn't even, like, take off an arm or something like that. Like, the ankle snap was so tepid to me that I was just like, we could have done, especially you can regrow all of it.
I know,
we could have been like a little bit more active with that.
I did. It was effective in that it led to an already very creepy stretch for Henry being even creepier as he, like, drags his right leg along. And we got, you know, like, even just something about seeing, because, you mentioned the crawling worms, like, on the face, and it really, I don't know, it just struck me this time how, like, it looked like they were just, like, filled with blood, almost like a leech-like quality.
You see it again when he's, like, with Will in the library. And it's just, like, his face, he had a lot of stuff going on in season 4, but it was never this thing.
Yeah, it's so gross, but, like, it makes him...
His rosacea is really flaring. I recommend a B3 soothing serum.
Oh, my God. It's like, I don't know, it makes him seem more human again to me, weirdly, even though it's heightening the, like, monster quality, because, you know, you snap the leg and there's, like, a spatter of blood, and it's like, right. But yes, I thought that Will, I'm like, all right, man, talk your shit. I like it when he's like, did it slow you down? Did they get away? I'm like, yeah, flex on him, go for it. But I'm with you completely. It's like, if we have time to try to snap one thing, go for the neck.
Oh, neck
Perhaps the
spine. Really
great
idea.
Yeah. Come on.
I think if he's got Max in a chokehold with an arm, just lop that arm off if you can. You know what I mean? And then he could regrow it, but he would just, like, be, you know, just, like, be one arm. I would be more impressed with what Will accomplished. The ankle just felt like really low stakes to me. Okay. Team Harrington / Wheeler / Byers / Henderson walk into the lab, right? Okay, so we get the Return of the Jedi moment. Again, we've talked about a lot of this, like, nastiness, the fight in the Rainbow Daycare room.
Return of the Jedi call out. Whether the shield generator stuff was true or not doesn't matter. All worth it to call back to Steve's family video interview with Keith. Where he's like, this is like his one movie to go to. It's like the one with the teddy bears. Great stuff.
And he's like, But then Dustin's like, it's one kid's like tracks that you. I mean, like as you pointed out last section, he's being so fucking mean to Steve, and Steve is being mean to Dustin. And it's really very fucking tough. The Eddie, the like exposed nerve that is Eddie Munson at the core of this conflict.
Yes,
where Steve sounds pettily jealous of a dead guy
is a tough look for our guy Steve Harrington.
Really bad look for Steve. And again, Dustin is a child, Steve is in his 20s, and like I understand, like in your 20s you're not like done growing, but like you're better than this. And I thought that was really tough. Also, but I will say, when Steve says Eddie saved no one,
you co-sign?
We had this conversation when Eddie made the sacrifice play in season 4. We were like, but why?
But did you need to?
But why, actually? So I wouldn't say it, and I certainly wouldn't say it to Dustin, but I kind of agreed with it.
There are some things you just don't have to say, and that's one of them. Steve, the Steve part of it is really disappointing and painful, and I think there's something about it that's quite human. You know, someone who has looked up to you is constantly calling you dumb and stupid and childish and state of arrested development, and you're like, man, like this bond with Dustin and feeling like Dustin needed me and also looked up to me was such an affirming thing, and now to constantly be belittled and condescended and mocked by him feels like shit. And so then I respond in kind, which is like, I agree it would be nice if he were a little bit more mature, which we get, I guess, just a beat of when he's like, I'm gonna walk away from this, like I'm done. But there's some wisdom in what he's saying with, I mean, even just like you wanted a fight, you know, we talked about that a lot last time,
it's
but
all
obviously
true.
It's
just not how you say it. What you say. But again, there's no time for this inside of we're constantly doing these crawls and stuff like that. But what you say actually earlier is, Dustin, have you talked to your counselor?
I know.
Like, Dustin, have you journaled
like,
about
if you
this?
Need me.
You know, like you need to talk to someone. You're grieving. Like, I'm here for you. All this sort of stuff. So
I think this is both a little bit of a product and maybe a victim of not only the pace and flow of the season as we've already chronicled, but like the gap between the seasons. I think that the fact that Dustin is still actively grieving and in this state of despair after losing someone as important to him as Eddie is actually like a great choice that the show has made to say. And we talked about this last time. You had beautiful things to say about this. You shared some of Gaten's quotes about this. Like the fact that Dustin is not just like, I've moved on. It's like I'm carrying this, and it's really, really hard for me to work through this. Feels not only like true to life and true to loss, but an important thing actually to show the viewers of the show. Like when you carry that with you for a long time.
And Stranger Things has done this repeatedly, as we mentioned, like Joyce with Bob and Max with Billy. Like this is the thing, you know, and your favorite Barb. Like that. This is you know, we don't kill people lightly. We take our time with it, but.
Still the best when Beck Note said to Nancy, like when I don't forget. I don't even fucking forgot about Barb. I don't forget. It's just incredible.
Do you think Nancy went home and put a photo of Barb on her toilet after that, or?
In the long history of the show, the photo of Barb in the bathroom is one of the things that I'm still most shaken by, shaken to my core. I think that the way that Dustin continues to carry this aspect of Eddie's, like, the lesson and gift that he gave him, embrace who you are, you know, is so lovely. And, like, the way that loss still consumes him, I do really like that. Like, this fight was... It was painful. It really was. I think that making Steve feel like small, worthless, dumb, bad. Everything that Steve has done to Dustin here, as we talked about, bad. Eddie, this is my one note I'll fire back at Steve with. Did it need to happen that way? Maybe not. But Eddie needed to prove to himself that he wasn't going to run, as we talked about a lot over season 4.
Rejected. Man.
I know you love that one. I know you loved all the breadcrumbs. All of the breadcrumbs.
The giant hulks of hollow falling from the sky. I think that, I don't know. It's really tough. Especially for Steve Harrington, a character that we have so admired his emotional growth.
Yes, for sure.
So admired the way that he handled Robin's coming out, which gets referenced in this episode. Like all these things that we just like really admired him. To see him really fail here as an older person inside of, you know, a friendship is tough. But listen,
it is. It's disappointing.
Growth is not just one line forward. You know, we regress, so that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like, the backslide actually can be compelling, and, like, for a character who the one thing he's really always, like, feared is being thought of fool or not being needed, maybe, you understand how he would be pulled back. That doesn't mean it's not disappointing to see. So, yeah, this was upsetting. The rawness and the physicality of it, throwing things, brutal.
Two good things do come out of this fight.
Yes.
Convenient things. The walkie breaks. That's going to be important. And then Dustin discovers a treasure trove of scientific notes here, Brenner's notes.
Brenner is an artiste. Beautiful drawings, beautiful doodles.
Do you think is he responsible for all of this? Or was there like a whole team? Anyway, meanwhile, Nancy and Jonathan are they're talking about a team, they're talking about honesty, they're talking about the hesitation and splitting up the groups, like all this sort of stuff like that. We get the resin dripping everywhere. We get the dead soldiers as a harbinger of what could happen to Nancy and Jonathan if they didn't figure out how to sit tight on that table and balance themselves, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. I do have some questions about this drippy Elmer's glue resin stuff, though, because, like, so it hardens. Nancy had it all up in her hair.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
the hair should just, like, crack off
just
now.
snap off, you know what I mean? And I think she would look fetching in a little bob if she wanted to, but, like...
Or, if it, like, got up their nose or in their mouth, would they just, like, die?
Yeah.
Should they be dead?
Well, I think that I feel like their clothes should be, like, stiff, and I think because they were just, like, sloshing around in it.
They were.
So if you know, so I that's just a question I had. Okay, anyway, this bleeds us out of episode 5 into episode 6. The Jonathan and Nancy stuff. Nancy crack shot that she is takes aim at the exotic matter, which, you know, both she and Jonathan say the phrase dark magic a couple times, but we get this, like, sort of man of science, man of faith binary, right? This idea that it's like magic or it's Vecna created or whatever. And Dustin's like, no, science made this. What do you think, before we get into, again, my favorite scene, maybe of Stranger Things ever, what do you think of this sort of man of science, man of faith, just because we always love to talk about Lost, like binary here inside of this moment?
I really liked this. I think that aspect of it feels true to the show, you know, which has always been multi-genre. You know, it's always been high fantasy. But it's also always been science. Like, these things have had a role to play. Actually, it's funny, like, when Dustin first, like, pushed back through the door into that back room and discovered the notebooks and the pinned map and the triangle, I had a moment where I was like, on the, like, what are we about to watch? Genre-wise front, I was like, wait a minute. Is this his map? Like, is this time travel?
100% same.
Like,
if he's like, what the heck? I was like, did he make all of these drawings?
Yeah, exactly.
I got really excited by that idea.
And then I'm like, oh no, the triangle, like, is different and the colors are different. There are different scrawls. And then, of course,
I had the exact same journey.
So, which I think they, like, probably wanted us to have that reaction, but who knows? Then I'm trying to go, like, freeze frame on the notebook, and I've got some, I have horrible handwriting, so who am I to judge? But I'm like, man, it's hard to, they want this to be hard to read some of this.
Scientists is notorious.
You know, and then I'm like, all right, we've got, you think back to the, like, closed time, like, curved node on the wormhole on Mr. Clark's chalkboard, and okay, like, what's the time travel possibility of the wormhole? I don't know. Anyway, it's, like, all on my mind, and I think the fact that the exotic matter, I think the question of, like, is this twist? You know, Dustin's like, it's always been dead wrong. We were wrong about all of it. But an evolution in our understanding and thinking is an interesting choice to make.
I think thinking about the upside down is like part of a bridge tube wormhole thing versus just like a world that's sitting on upside down from our world is a huge lore
it's a big
scratch moment.
It's a big update. So, I mean, obviously the, like, wormhole stuff has been very present this season, but that's like, we go back to season 1 and the, like, veil of shadows idea of how we understand this, and rooted in like D&D, and that language would be shorthand for how we think of all of this. So it's like in the spirit of play, in the spirit of high fantasy, but the science has always been present. That, like, all of that being here as we update the actual canon feels right. Whether people are going to be like, I'm super into like theoretical physics and exotic matter being something I need to think about actively at the end of this is maybe a different question.
Yeah, let's put a pin in this until we talk about, I think, episode 7. I have some thoughts about this, but I do think in terms of like legibility and TV making, it was so smart to have Dustin explaining while we have characters we really care about, Hopper, Eleven, and Your Mileage May Vary, Kali, are like threatened by this hole in the wall, and like this idea of getting sucked out into nothingness, right? If the bridge collapses, it will take all of us with it into nothingness, and Kali and Eleven and Hopper show us that danger. I thought that was really smart. I was a little less enamored with, if Nancy shoots that all of us will die being the end of episode 7, then that just like not being, I was wrong, it's actually this, as Dustin, okay, and then wait, I was wrong again, because Nancy shot it and like a shockwave rippled around everything, but we didn't all die. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was an interesting kind of microcosm of some of what's happening in season 5, where it's like, it looks fucking amazing to see the
ripple,
just subtlety of like, you pan your flashlight and there's a little bit of a ripple in the air to suddenly this like swirling mass of red flame, and then the propulsion, the wave of surging energy, and the shift into the white and the blue, and then the whole, and like with that moment, to your point of like the magnitude of this clarity here at the end of all things, like the moment where it's fun and funny to see the beamer shoot into space, but then like to get that definitive, we're out of the phase of speculation, definitive
to see
view,
the exterior of it.
Of the exterior shot of like the realities with the wormhole in between. Like, that was all really neat, but then there's a part of me, in addition to what you said, that's just like, I do kind of expect Nancy Wheeler at this point to be like, shoot first, ask later, but I'm also like, that's just fucking dumb. Sorry, like, you have no idea what's going to happen if you do that, and you're in whether you think it's the shield generator or not. I know Dustin's like, go destroy, but you don't know. You're at a lab.
Well, I also think like, if you can hear someone like kind of yelling on the other side of the walkie, even if you can't like make out what they're saying, like maybe take a beat and go like shout down the stairwell to see if you can like,
they're in the same building.
Like take a moment. Nancy, I understand. Jonathan, I'm like, Nancy's just like anything to get target practice in, but like, anyway, okay. So eventually Nancy and Jonathan wake up in a conference room, which is slowly being filled with goop, which I don't know if it made you think of the trash compactor in Star Wars. I don't know if it made you think of like Titanic in the room filling with water, or like, pick your movie reference, Poison. This is a classic. We're trapped in a room and, the water's rising or whatever.
For sure, Star Wars trash compactor for me.
Okay. Something about the two of them being on top of that conference table really like pinged Titanic for me. And when I was watching it with Diana, she was like, "Oh, Titanic, room filling with water." So this is, it just depends on your POV. What would the Duffers more likely reference, Titanic or Star Wars? Is anyone's guess. Who's to say?
Maybe Kate and Big Jim are just on your mind after Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Oh, my new favorite movie that everyone was really excited about my takes on. Okay.
Could it be that?
Here it comes. My favorite scene of the season. Maybe of the show. Who's to say? I don't know. I'll think about it.
It was beautiful.
We get honesty. I'm just going to run through the list in regards to the Clash. Nancy's articles. I love that.
So they are good. The articles
sometimes
amazing.
Really tough. You and I are journalists. We know what this is. Okay, Slaughterhouse 5. Anna Karenina. Jonathan's lateness.
6 minutes.
Nancy's pink. I don't think he watches Stranger Things. I don't think he'll listen to this podcast. Maybe people will tell him. I don't know. I just want to tell you, that's exactly the Rob Mahoney lateness window. That's the precise Mahoney lateness window. Nancy's pink sweater. Flush purple. Did you excited to hear a Purple Palm Tree Delight reference?
I would have appreciated a quick, like, that's fucked up. What would Argyle say? I thought, pink sweater. I took your pink sweater and gave it to Goodwill because I don't like pink.
Color pink. Sucked.
Little bit of the Jonathan, I'm hiding in the woods, taking your naked photo, season 1 energy in a bad way in an otherwise lovely scene.
I think following it with I flushed your weed down the toilet is like, because when he said that, I was like, ugh. Then she's like, I flushed your weed. I was like, all right, we're just like, we're all doing things that isn't great. College applications.
Yeah.
The trauma bond. How could anyone else understand? Quote, makes me feel safe, but also suffocating. Yeah. Nancy talked about not visiting California.
The way that Jonathan said space to be with someone else, like the look on his face.
I know. But then, like, I love Natalia's delivery when she was like, Steve's a good guy. And then she's like, he wants 6 little nuggets. Like, it's just like taking that scene, which we were all like, oh, Steve longing to be a dad, and like now getting to rewatch it and have Nancy like sitting there being like, what? You know, like, no thank you. And how she's still very young, she wants time to figure it out. And then we get the like unproposal. He essentially says here at the end of all things, like one of my favorite Lord of the Rings lines.
Same.
I loved this. It's beautiful. Like the way that they like zoom in on them, and you can hear the sort of it's like Elmer's glue, but also kind of like paper mache. Just like this very like goopy dripping, slowing down around them. But if you're like drawn into the drama, you might miss that everything is hardening around them until you get the ring toss onto the hardened resin. But I was so emotionally moved by this. The like, I loved you, I love you, I love you in return. The like forehead kiss, the like touching foreheads, which was in all the trailers, but the forehead kiss. The like you're watching, you're like, are they're breaking? Okay, this is a breakup scene. This is like an unproposal. And then like the way I'm gonna cry. The way that they like embrace so tightly at the end, right? Like we're safe. The floor is not lava anymore. The floor is solid. Like we're safe. They're embracing so tightly, and then the camera pulls Sean Levy or whoever. If it was Frank or Sean, I don't know who filmed this exact scene when things sort of blur together over episodes, but the pull focus like from them to the ring. There are so many different ways to love someone, and there are so many different ways to keep someone in your life forever. And this idea, to me, it would be very sad to me if Jonathan and Nancy like broke up and she picked Steve and they never talked to each other again. But this idea of like, if we go into the future, you know, if they do like a 6 Feet Under Friday Night Lights kind of ending where we get to see the glimpses of the future of these characters. I like the idea of Nancy and Jonathan always being in each other's lives, even if they're not each other's romantic partner. They're bonded forever by this time in their life and this thing that happened to them, and you know, their shared affinities, but they don't necessarily want to be together, and that's so true and so great. And there isn't like a dumb soap opera plot twist reason. It's just sort of like very human. This idea when she's like, I hate it when you're stoned, I hate it when you're drunk. We've seen both of them. And we've seen drunk Nancy, we've seen stoned Jonathan. Why do we do that? They've been like numbing themselves to the problems. Nancy's like, what, we're going to fix all of our relationship problems here in the Hawkins lab? But it's like, actually. And just sort of like, what the opportunities are here for profound emotional clarity when this is the advantage of a season where the pressure could not be higher and the stakes could not be higher and it's end of the world shit all the time. Like, this is where it can just shine through with such clear emotional clarity and cut through the bullshit. And I just I loved this. Jonathan just like really emerging as just so like good. Such a strong character that I am emotionally invested in. So
I beautifully said. I agree completely. I thought this was absolutely lovely. Like, to what you were saying about the filmmaking and the stretch and the sound design and the pans and like the fact that we, depending on how you're choosing to watch or track the scene, you maybe lose track of how much is dripping or where are we. It's like that's happening for the characters too. They think they're on the brink of death. I I considered it entirely possible that they were both about to die. I did.
Yeah.
Genuinely did. And I would not, I think, have been surprised if the scene had concluded that way. And I'm glad, obviously, that didn't happen. But I think if it had, it would have felt like a perfect end as well. Maybe I would have wanted Jonathan right before the goop claimed them to say, like, Will, something about Will. But other than that, I support you no matter what, buddy. It would have been perfect. But yeah, like, I think, we were saying, talking a few minutes ago about other characters, like, is there time and how much time and how do you fit all these things? It's like, this is a reminder that the great magic trick of Stranger Things has always been that they found a way to do exactly that when it seems like it shouldn't be possible. And I loved that across these moments, and you're always honest, the staircase exchange into this, that it's just active text, not in is our audience paying attention, but in a way that feels like, this is why they are finally after. We were like, wait a minute. Did they never talk about the college thing across these 20 months of being in what? And then it feels like that was held and saved for a reason, because the fact that they have both been pressing that down inside of them, not only knowing how they each felt about it, but on some level knowing also, as Nancy says, she's like, I know. Knowing what the other person thinks and feels is like, they've been in this emotional pressure cooker. And I think Nancy saying, is this the time? My sister, especially on the heels of the should we bring her flowers? And is this the time to try to get your girlfriend? Or and then Dustin calls Steve out on it here. The fact that Jonathan was yeah,
especially now. I'm scared.
I'm scared. What better time could there possibly be to say the thing that you've been afraid to say and the thing you feel most deeply? I just thought that was really smart on the show's part to acknowledge I don't know, sometimes that's what it's like to be a person and navigate your relationship with someone else, is that the moment that maybe seems most inopportune or inappropriate is the time where you're finally you can. I feel like I can, or I feel like I have to at last. And I just thought that.
All right, we're about to wrap up part 2 of our flight on Saturday, December 27th. It is now 1:48 p.m. Eastern. Flipping back and forth between the Penn State-Clemson Pinstripe Bowl. I think Penn State's up 6-3 at halftime. And the Chelsea and Aston Villa game, I think Chelsea's up 1-0. They are started again in the second half. I'm sure by now I need to flip back to that. But we are flying over Freeport, Bahamas, and that's where we'll start in part 3 coming up very soon. Until then.